flirting with me and messing with me because that's what she likes to do with all the young white boys and stuff. She just see if she could scare her. I just looked at her and laughed, and that's how I met Lavelle. And it was right before we did a European tour, Larry's first European tour with Lavelle White. Zora Young was on that tour, and Miss Jean Carroll was on that tour. She was more of a kind of a folk blues singer kind of thing. And that was a 6-week tour in 1983. Mario Satterwhite was the bass player. He's passed away now. And Jim Schutte was the drummer. He has also passed away. Lavelle and I are probably the only two still alive.
You mentioned with Lavelle, you did a show called the Mountain Stage Show.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, it was in Charleston, West Virginia, and it was an offshoot from Prairie Home Companion. The same guy, I can't remember the guy's name that did Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it'll come to me.
Well, he started the Mountain Stage Show too as an offshoot, which was strictly music.
Yeah.
No comedy, none of that stuff. It was strictly live performances. And we got booked on that show. And there was a bunch of people. The only one, and some of them were superstars became superstars in the country genre. And I can't remember any of their names. But the one guy who I remember meeting on that show is Chris Whitley. And he's passed and stuff like that. But him and I hung out on the back loading dock and smoked a joint and talked about, the music business. And they were putting him through hell at that time because he was becoming a rising star. He'd even had stuff on MTV and all that. And he couldn't handle it. And he was such a sweet kid. He was a sweetheart of a man, and they just drove him crazy. The music business, I advise anyone, don't be stupid enough to get involved in the music business. Music is great. The music business sucks. It's rigged against a musician. They want you to jump through hoops, and they don't give a shit if they're mentally impairing you or if they're jeopardizing your health or anything. They don't care. They want that bottom line dollar. And if you've got to be wheeled out on stage and a full body cast and shit like that, well, by God, you better jump around, So, I've got my issues with that. But Chris Whitley, I remember meeting him. He was an amazing musician. I liked him quite a bit. He was a good guy. And then the house band were all these studio veterans, world-class musicians. I mean, you could have dropped the sheet music of a Bach concerto in front of them, and they could have played it. So at the we did our set. We were one of the headliners, and an undiscovered talent. Lavelle was starting to ride high pretty good. And then at the end of the show, they do a jam between the house band and all the front people, the stars of all the musical guests they have. Mm-hmm. And they do like, they were going to do Every Day I Have the Blues and something like that to accommodate Lavelle. And then the leader of the band, who's a guitar player, comes up to me and goes, "We want you to play with the band." And then they got Sauce Gonzalez, our key B3 master, who played with Sonny and the Sunliners and was on Dick Clark's American Bandstand in 63, 64, right before him and the whole band got drafted and sent to Vietnam. They asked him to play B3. And we were the only band members out of all the backing groups and stuff like that. We were the only two asked. And they gave me a spotlight solo in the middle of this and called out my name repeatedly. 23 million people live, baby.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. I probably whiffed the solo. I don't really remember. And I was pretty excited.